Hello and welcome to my channel. In this episode of Channel Audience, we are going to take a look at the history of the country of South Africa from its birth in 1910 up until the present day. South Africa is one of the most unique countries in the world with a rich and complex history. Today it's one of the most stable and prosperous countries in Africa, but that hasn't always been the case. The history of South Africa is full of violence, oppression, and ultimately hope. So join me today as we explore the fascinating history of this amazing country. We begin our story in 1910, when the Union of South Africa was formed. This union consisted of 4 separate British colonies, namely Cape Natal, Transvaal, and Orange. Each of these colonies had their own unique history, dating back hundreds of years. The Cape Colony, for example, was established in 1652 by the Dutch East India Company as a supply and refreshment station for ships traveling between Europe and Asia. The Natal colony was originally inhabited by the Zulu and other Bantu-speaking peoples. However, the area came under British control in 1842 following a series of wars. The Transvaal colony, or South African Republic, was originally a Boer Republic founded in 1852 by migrating Boers or farmers from the Cape Colony. The Orange Free State, or the Orange Colony, was also originally a Boer Republic founded in 1854, despite their different histories. These 4 colonies were united in 1910 to form the Union of South Africa under British rule. However, this wealth did not benefit all South Africans equally. In fact, the vast majority of the population, which was Black African, lived in extreme poverty, while the white minority, which had been granted political power through the franchise, enjoyed the fruits of the country's prosperity. This stark inequality led to growing resentment among the Black population and a desire for political change. In response to this growing unrest, the white minority government passed a series of laws in the 1950s known as Apartheid, which enforced racial segregation and discrimination. Under Apartheid, Black South Africans were denied the right to vote, to own land in certain areas, and to even associate with white people. The government also created a system of pass laws which required blacks to carry a document that allowed them to be in certain areas. Non-compliance with these laws resulted in severe punishments such as imprisonment or deportation. As you can imagine, these laws were extremely unpopular and led to widespread protests and civil disobedience. Despite the oppressive regime, there was hope for change. In the 1960s and 70s, the African National Congress, or ANC, which had been formed in 1912 to protect the interests of Black South Africans, began to fight back against apartheid through acts of sabotage and civil disobedience. The ANC was led by charismatic figures such as Nelson Mandela, who became a symbol of the struggle against apartheid. It should be noted that there were other organizations that fought against apartheid as well. One of the most notable was the Pan-Africanist Congress, or PAC, which was formed in 1959 after a split in the ANC. The PAC favored more militant tactics than the ANC and played a significant role in the Soweto Uprising of 1976, which was a major turning point in the struggle against apartheid. As the struggle against apartheid intensified, South Africa became increasingly isolated on the international stage. The UN Security Council imposed mandatory sanctions in 1977, and many countries, including the United States, imposed their own economic sanctions. This isolation and the economic cost of maintaining apartheid led to growing opposition to the regime, even among some white South Africans. By the 1990s, the end of apartheid was in sight. In February 1990, after serving 27 years in prison, Nelson Mandela was released from prison and the ANC was unbanned. Talks between the ANC and the government led to the dismantling of apartheid, and the first multiracial elections were held in 1994. Nelson Mandela became the first president of South Africa in the new democratic era. The transition to democracy was a remarkable achievement for South Africa, and it's a testament to the courage and determination of those who fought against apartheid. However, the legacy of apartheid continues to be felt in South Africa today. The country still faces challenges such as poverty, inequality, and crime, and the scars of the past are still visible in many communities. Nevertheless, South Africa has made great strides since the end of apartheid, and it's a much more inclusive and tolerant society today than it was in the past. South Africa is also facing some big challenges in the 21st century. For example, the country has a high level of inequality and poverty, despite its strong economy. Additionally, South Africa has experienced a number of social and political problems in recent years, including service delivery protests, xenophobic violence, and a decline in public trust in government institutions. Furthermore, the country's water resources are under strain due to climate change and over-extraction, which could have serious implications for agriculture, industry, and daily life. Finally, South Africa is also vulnerable to the effects of climate change, which could include more frequent and severe droughts, floods, and storms. These challenges will require careful planning and management to address. But with its rich history of innovation and entrepreneurship, South Africa is well placed to tackle them. One of the ways that South Africa is addressing these challenges is through its commitment to sustainable development. The country has adopted the Sustainable Development Goals set out by the United Nations and is working towards achieving them by 2030. South Africa is also investing in renewable energy sources such as solar and wind power, which will help to reduce its reliance on coal and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Additionally, the government is implementing policies to promote economic growth and create jobs, which will help to reduce poverty and inequality. Despite these challenges, South Africa remains a vibrant and dynamic country with a lot to offer the world. Its diverse population and its commitment to social justice make it a leader on the African continent and a role model for democracy and human rights. South Africa is also home to some of the world's most beautiful scenery, from the majestic Drakensberg Mountains to the world-famous Kruger National Park. The country is a popular destination for tourists from around the globe who come to experience its stunning landscapes and wildlife. Furthermore, South Africa has a thriving arts and culture scene. The country is home to a number of world-class museums, art galleries, and theaters. South African music, film, and literature have also gained international recognition in recent years. Overall, South Africa is a country with a rich history and a bright future. While it faces significant challenges, it also has a lot to offer the world, and its people are known for their resilience, creativity, and entrepreneurship. With that said, let us now move on to a quick summary of the early history of South Africa, before it became a modern nation-state. Long before the arrival of Europeans, South Africa was inhabited by a variety of indigenous peoples, including the Khokho or Comans and the San or Bushmen. The Khokho were pastoralist people who herded large flocks of sheep and goats, while the San were hunter-gatherers who lived in small nomadic bands. In the 17th century, the Dutch began to explore and colonize the Cape of Good Hope region, which they named the Cape Colony. The Dutch East India Company established a refreshment station at the Cape in 1652, which eventually grew into a full-fledged colony. The Dutch also enslaved indigenous people to work on their farms and in their homes. In the 18th century, the British began to compete with the Dutch for control of the Cape Colony. After a series of wars, the British took control of the colony in 1806. During the 19th century, the British and the Boers, or South African farmers of Dutch descent, clashed over issues such as slavery and the expansion of British rule. This led to a series of wars, including the Anglo-Boer War, which resulted in the establishment of the Union of South Africa in 1910. As mentioned earlier, the Union of South Africa was a self-governing dominion within the British Empire. In the early 20th century, the discovery of gold and diamonds led to rapid economic growth and urbanization. However, this growth was accompanied by increasing racial tensions and the rise of the Apartheid regime. After the Second World War, South Africa became a republic within the Commonwealth of Nations. The struggle against apartheid intensified during the 1960s and 70s, leading to international condemnation and economic sanctions. Following the Soweto uprising of 1976, the government began to ease some of the more oppressive aspects of apartheid, and in 1990, Nelson Mandela was released from prison. The transition to democracy was completed in 1994 with the first multiracial elections. South Africa became a full democracy. And that's a wrap. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned something new about South Africa. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. We would really appreciate it. Let us know in the comments below what you found most interesting about South Africa's history. And also tell us which country you want us to cover next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.